You're not losing because you're weak. You're losing because you lack direction. Sun Tzu mastered more than battle. He mastered outcomes. These 7 principles don't hype you up. They calm you down. They simplify chaos, strip away distraction, and create clarity. With the right principles, every move becomes calculated. Every setback becomes an adjustment. Every goal becomes inevitable. Achievement isn't just about hard work. It's about aligned work. Subscribe to our channel if you're ready to master your mind, and tell us, where are you watching from? Listen carefully. Without discipline, there is no structure. And without structure, achievement collapses. Every fortress falls not because the walls were too thin, but because the foundation was never built to last. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is architecture. It's the framework that holds your ambitions when motivation fails you. When the morning feels heavy and the goal feels distant, discipline doesn't negotiate. It simply acts. Most people confuse discipline with restriction. They see it as chains. But here's what most people don't understand. Discipline is freedom. Freedom from the chaos of uncontrolled impulses. Freedom from the weakness of scattered focus. Freedom from the prison of inconsistency. The undisciplined mind is like water. Without a container, it takes the shape of whatever surrounds it. The disciplined mind is like a river carved into stone. It cuts through obstacles because it flows with purpose, not resistance. You want to know why your goals feel impossible? Because you're trying to build a castle on quicksand. Every day you start over. Every day you reinvent your approach. Every day you negotiate with yourself about what you'll do and when you'll do it. This is not strategy. This is surrender. The master understands that discipline is not about perfection. It's about consistency. A small action repeated daily defeats. A grand gesture attempted once. The enemy of achievement is not failure, it's inconsistency. Look at your current patterns. What do you do every day without thinking? Those patterns are your true discipline. If they don't serve your goals, then your discipline serves your defeat. But let me ask you this. What would happen if you treated your most important goal like breathing? You don't negotiate with your lungs about whether to expand. You don't motivate your heart to beat. These systems run on discipline so deep it operates below conscious thought. This is where you must go, beyond willpower, beyond motivation, into the realm of automatic execution. Start with one thing, not 10 things. One thing that moves you toward your target. Do it at the same time every day. Do it when you feel inspired. Do it when you feel nothing. Do it when the world is on. Fire around you. Do it until it becomes as natural as opening your eyes in the morning. The amateur seeks complexity because complexity feels important. The master seeks simplicity because simplicity works. Your discipline should be so basic that a child could understand it, so consistent that your enemies could predict it, so reliable that even you stop noticing it. This is how empires are built, not with grand speeches or perfect plans, with small, precise actions repeated until they become inevitable. The general who wins is not the one with the most courage. It's the one whose army knows exactly what to do when chaos erupts. Your mind is your army. Your habits are your soldiers, and discipline is your command structure. Without clear command, even the strongest army becomes a mob. Stop looking for motivation. Stop waiting for inspiration. Stop negotiating with your future self about what you'll do tomorrow. Decide what serves your mission. Then do it. Every day, without exception, without drama, without negotiation. This is how you move from hoping for success to engineering it. This is how you transform from someone who wants change to someone who creates it. This is how you stop being at war with yourself and start being at war with your limitations. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you must be. Build it strong, cross it daily. Everything else follows. You can hustle in the wrong direction. Strategy makes effort count. The hardest working person in the room is often the least successful, not because effort doesn't matter, but because effort without direction is just sophisticated procrastination. Have watched armies march for days toward the wrong battlefield. I have seen merchants work sunrise to sunset, selling products no one wants. I have observed students study relentlessly for tests that don't advance their goals, energy spent, progress absent, effort wasted. Direction determines destination, not speed, not intensity, not sacrifice. A man walking slowly toward the right target will always defeat a man running frantically in circles. Most people mistake motion for progress. They confuse being busy with being effective. They measure their worth by how exhausted they feel at the end of the day. This is the thinking of the defeated. The master asks one question before taking any action. Does this move me closer to my objective? If the answer is no, the action is rejected. No matter how easy, no matter how comfortable, no matter how impressive it might appear to others, but here's what most people don't understand. Choosing direction requires rejecting alternatives. Every yes to one path is a no to 10 others. This is why clarity feels uncomfortable. It demands sacrifice. It demands choice. It demands the courage to disappoint people who want you to scatter your energy across their priorities. Your enemy is not failure. Your enemy is not competition. Your enemy is not lack of resources. Your enemy is the absence of clear direction. Without direction, every decision becomes a guess. Every setback becomes a crisis. Every opportunity becomes a distraction. Look at your last week. How much time did you spend on activities that directly advance your primary objective? How much time did you spend on activities that feel productive but create no meaningful progress? The ratio reveals your relationship with direction. The undirected person says, "I'll try everything and see what works." The directed person says, "I'll do one thing until it works." The undirected person spreads effort thin. The directed person concentrates force at the point of greatest impact. But let me ask you this. What happens when you focus sunlight through a magnifying glass? Scattered light warms nothing. Focused light starts fires. Your effort is sunlight. Your direction is the lens. Most goals fail, not because they're too difficult. They fail because they're too vague. I want to be successful is not direction. It's a wish. I want to increase revenue by 30% in the next 6 months by acquiring 15 new clients through direct outreach is direction. It's specific. It's measurable. It's actionable. Vague goals create vague actions. Vague actions create vague results. Precision in direction creates precision in execution. Precision in execution creates predictable outcomes. The amateur changes direction when obstacles appear. The master changes tactics while maintaining direction. The path may bend. The destination remains fixed. This is the difference between persistence and stubbornness. Persistence adapts method while protecting mission. Stubbornness repeats failed methods while losing sight of mission. Your direction should be so clear that you can explain it in one sentence. So compelling that you think about it first thing in the morning. So specific that you know immediately whether any activity supports it or undermines it. Stop doing things because they're easy. Stop doing things because they're expected. Stop doing things because they worked for someone else. Start doing things because they move you toward your defined target. The general who tries to defend every position loses every battle. The general who concentrates forces at the decisive point wins the war. Your attention is your army. Your goals are your battlefields. Choose the battlefield that matters most. Deploy your forces there. Everything else is secondary. This is how empires are built. Not by conquering every territory, by conquering the territories that matter, not by fighting every battle, by winning the battles that determine the outcome. Your life has limited resources, limited time, limited energy, limited attention. These are not weaknesses. These are constraints that force clarity. Use them. Let them eliminate the non-essential. Let them reveal what truly matters. Direction is not something you find. Direction is something you decide. Stop searching for your purpose. Start choosing your target. Then aim everything you have at hitting it. Complexity looks smart, But simplicity works. Strip down, execute clearly. The most dangerous enemy is the one who makes everything look complicated. They convince you that success requires elaborate systems, sophisticated tools, and complex strategies. They profit from your confusion. They thrive on your hesitation. I have seen brilliant minds paralyzed by their own intelligence. They design perfect plans that never begin. They create flawless systems that never launch. They build elaborate theories that never touch reality. Complexity became their prison. The master understands that the best strategy is the one you can execute without thinking. The best system is the one that works when you're tired. The best plan is the one that survives contact with chaos. Simplicity is not the absence of sophistication. Simplicity is sophistication distilled to its essence. It's the result of deep understanding, not shallow thinking. Anyone can make things complicated. Only the master can make them simple. But here's what most people don't understand. Simple doesn't mean easy. Simple means clear. A push-up is simple. It's not easy after the 50th repetition. Building a business is simple. Provide value, collect payment, repeat. It's not easy when the market shifts and competitors emerge. Look at any system that endures. The wheel, the lever, the alphabet, the fundamental principles of mathematics. They share one characteristic: elegant simplicity. They work because they cannot be misunderstood. They persist because they cannot be overcomplicated. Your current approach to your goals, how many steps does it involve? How many variables must align? How many things could go wrong? The more complex your path, the more likely your failure. The amateur adds steps to feel thorough. The master removes steps to create clarity. The amateur says, "Let me show you everything I know." The master says, "Let me show you the one thing that matters." Every complication is a point of failure. Every unnecessary step is an opportunity for delay. Every additional requirement is a reason to postpone action. Complexity is the enemy of execution. But let me ask you this. What is the simplest version of your goal? Not the most impressive version, not the most comprehensive version. The simplest version that still produces the result you want. Most people fail not because their goals are too simple. They fail because their approach is too complicated. They try to change everything at once. They want to optimize every variable. They demand perfection in every detail. The general who requires perfect conditions never fights. The entrepreneur who demands comprehensive market research never launches. The athlete who wants flawless technique never competes. Perfection is the sophisticated form of procrastination. Start with the minimum viable approach. One action, one system, one metric. Master that before adding complexity. Let success create confidence. Let confidence create capacity for more sophisticated approaches. The most powerful techniques appear deceptively simple. But simplicity emerged from eliminating everything non-essential. What remains is pure effectiveness, no waste, no confusion, no excuses. Your system should be so simple you can explain it to a child, so clear you can execute it when distracted, so reliable it works when you doubt yourself. If your approach requires perfect conditions to succeed, it will fail when conditions become imperfect. Look at nature. The most successful organisms are not the most complex. They're the most adapted. They do a few things extremely well. They waste no energy on non-essential functions. They thrive through focused excellence, not scattered capability. This is your model, not the person who juggles 10 projects poorly. The person who completes one project brilliantly. Not the business that offers everything to everyone, the business that solves one problem perfectly for the right people. Strip away everything that doesn't directly contribute to your primary objective. Every tool that complicates rather than simplifies. Every step that impresses rather than progresses. Every requirement that delays rather than advances. The master's toolkit contains fewer items than the amateur's, but each item serves multiples purposes. Each tool is thoroughly understood. Each technique is precisely calibrated. Simplicity forces priority. When you can only choose 3 things, you choose the 3 things that matter most. When complexity allows infinite choices, you often choose nothing. This is how you break through analysis paralysis. This is how you escape perfectionism. This is how you transform planning into action. Make it so simple that starting becomes inevitable. Make it so clear that continuation becomes automatic. The path to your goal exists, but it's buried under layers of complication you've added. Start removing layers. Keep removing until only the essential remains. Then execute what remains. You can't control what you don't understand. Study the field. Know yourself. The battle is lost before it begins when you fight an enemy you haven't studied. The goal remains unreached when you pursue it through a landscape you haven't mapped. The advantage goes to whoever sees clearest, not whoever works hardest. Most people operate in darkness. They make decisions based on assumptions. They react to symptoms while ignoring causes. They charge forward without understanding the terrain. This is not courage, this is blindness. Awareness has two dimensions: external awareness, understanding your environment, your competition, your market, your obstacles. Internal awareness, understanding your strengths, your weaknesses, your patterns, your triggers. The master develops both simultaneously. He studies the field of battle as intensely as he studies himself. He knows which strategies work in which conditions. He knows which of his tendencies help and which hurt. But here's what most people don't understand. Awareness is not passive observation. Awareness is active intelligence gathering. It requires deliberate attention. It demands honest assessment. It necessitates uncomfortable truths. Look at your current situation. What forces are working for you? What forces are working against you? What trends are shaping your industry? What patterns govern your behavior? If you can't answer these questions precisely, you're operating blind. The unaware person says, "I don't know why this isn't working." The aware person says, "This isn't working because X factor changed, Y assumption was wrong, and Z pattern keeps repeating." Awareness transforms confusion into clarity. Problems become puzzles with identifiable solutions. Setbacks become data points, revealing adjustments needed. Failures become feedback, showing what doesn't work. Most people avoid deep awareness because it reveals uncomfortable realities. It shows them that their strategy has flaws. It demonstrates that their assumptions are wrong. It exposes that their efforts are misdirected. So they choose comfortable ignorance over painful truth. The master chooses truth over comfort. He would rather face harsh reality than live in pleasant delusion. He knows that accurate diagnosis precedes effective treatment. He knows that solving the wrong problem perfectly is still failure. But let me ask you this. What are you consistently avoiding looking at? What question makes you uncomfortable? What feedback do you dismiss too quickly? The thing you least want to examine is often the thing most preventing your progress. External awareness requires studying what works, not what sounds good, not what feels right, what actually produces results. This means finding people who have achieved what you want to achieve. This means understanding the real requirements, not the advertised requirements. Most success stories are sanitized. They remove the unglamorous parts. They skip the boring fundamentals. They highlight the dramatic moments while ignoring the systematic preparation. Don't study the highlight reel. Study the behind-the-scenes reality. Internal awareness requires brutal honesty about your patterns. When do you make your best decisions? When do you make your worst mistakes? What environments energize you? What situations drain you? What triggers cause you to abandon your plans? You have behavioral patterns that serve you and patterns that sabotage you. The serving patterns should be amplified. The sabotaging patterns should be recognized and interrupted. But first, they must be seen clearly. Track your performance across different conditions. Notice what precedes your highest productivity. Notice what precedes your lowest productivity. These patterns contain the code for optimizing your performance. The unaware person repeats the same mistakes while expecting different results. The aware person recognizes patterns early and adjusts before the pattern completes. This is the difference between reaction and response. Awareness also means understanding the game you're actually playing, not the game you think you're playing. The rules are different in different contexts. What works in a corporate environment might fail in an entrepreneurial environment. What works in a growing market might fail in a declining market. Study the real requirements for success in your specific situation. Not the theoretical requirements, not the idealized requirements. The actual requirements demonstrated by people who have succeeded in similar circumstances. This is how you develop strategic advantage. While others guess, you know. While others assume, you verify. While others react to surprises, you prepare. For probabilities, awareness is the foundation of all other advantages. Without clear sight, speed becomes recklessness. Without accurate information, effort becomes waste. Without understanding patterns, planning becomes fantasy. Invest time in developing awareness before investing time in action. The clarity you gain will multiply the effectiveness of everything you do afterward. See clearly first, then move decisively. Right move, wrong moment, failure. Wait, then strike when they least expect. The same action produces different results at different times. Launch too early and you waste resources on an unready market. Launch too late and you surrender advantage. To competitors who moved first, perfect execution at the wrong moment is still failure. Most people understand effort. Few understand timing. They believe that working harder compensates for moving at the wrong time. They think persistence alone overcomes poor timing. This is the thinking of the defeated. I have watched brilliant strategies fail because they were implemented one season too early. I have seen mediocre ideas succeed because they arrived at exactly the right moment. Timing is the multiplier that makes good strategies great and great strategies legendary. The master waits, not because he lacks courage, not because he lacks conviction, because he understands that power concentrated and released at the optimal moment defeats power scattered across time. But here's what most people don't understand. Timing is not luck. Timing is preparation, meeting opportunity. The prepared mind recognizes when conditions align. The unprepared mind sees the same conditions and notices nothing. Look at your current goals. Are you pushing against resistance that signals wrong timing, or are you moving with momentum that signals right timing? The same goal pursued at different times feels completely different. When you're fighting upstream, everything is difficult. Every small advance requires maximum effort. Progress feels forced. Results feel earned through struggle rather than achieved through strategy. When timing aligns, effort multiplies. The same actions that previously produced minimal results now produce exponential results. Opportunities appear. Resources become available. People want to help rather than hinder. The amateur forces timing because waiting feels like inaction. The master waits for timing because premature action is wasted action. The amateur mistakes patience for passivity. The master understands patience as positioning. But let me ask you this. What signals are you ignoring that indicate timing? Market conditions, seasonal patterns, personal energy cycles, resource availability, competitive landscape. These are not random variables. These are timing indicators. Most people make decisions based on internal pressure rather than external timing. They act when they feel ready rather than when conditions are ready. They launch when they're excited rather than when the market is receptive. The calendar shows dates. The master reads conditions. He launches products when demand peaks, not when development completes. He makes career moves when opportunities align, not when dissatisfaction peaks. He enters markets when they're expanding, not when he's prepared. This requires different thinking. Instead of asking, "Am I ready?" ask, "Are conditions ready?" Instead of asking, "What do I want to do?" ask, "What does this moment want me to do?" Timing has rhythms, economic cycles, seasonal patterns, industry trends, personal energy patterns. These rhythms are predictable if you study them. The master synchronizes his actions with these rhythms rather than fighting against them. Sometimes the best action is no action. Not because you lack capability, because the moment hasn't arrived. The farmer doesn't plant seeds in winter because he's lazy. He plants them in spring because timing determines harvest. Your goals have seasons. Seasons for preparation, seasons for action, seasons for acceleration, seasons for consolidation. Fighting the season wastes energy and produces poor results. Recognition of timing requires patience with the process, but urgency with execution. You wait until the moment is right. Then you move with complete commitment. You prepare thoroughly, then strike decisively. The unprepared person acts impulsively when opportunity appears. The overprepared person hesitates when opportunity appears. The master acts swiftly when opportunity appears because he prepared before opportunity arrived. This is how you develop timing intelligence. Study patterns in your field. Notice when things typically accelerate and when they typically slow down. Notice when your personal performance peaks and when it cycles lower. Most breakthrough moments are preceded by preparation periods that look like nothing is happening. The master uses these periods to build capacity, gather resources, and position. For the next opportunity window, timing multiplies everything else. Great strategy with poor timing produces modest results. Average strategy with perfect timing produces extraordinary results. This is why the master studies timing as carefully as he studies technique. Watch for the signals that indicate timing. Shifts, market signals, industry signals, personal energy signals, resource availability signals. When multiple signals align, that's your moment. Stop forcing action when conditions resist. Stop waiting for perfect conditions that never arrive. Start recognizing when conditions align with your objectives. Then move with the certainty that timing is working with you, not against you. Never rush. Build advantage through positioning before action. The battle is won before the first move is made. Victory belongs to whoever controls the best position when action begins. The amateur focuses on speed. The master focuses on positioning. Speed without position is just well-organized chaos. Most people confuse activity with progress. They measure success by how quickly they move rather than how strategically they position. They rush into action because motion feels productive. But motion without position is motion without purpose. I have watched armies charge into disadvantageous terrain because their generals valued courage over strategy. I have seen businesses launch into competitive markets without securing any sustainable advantage. I have observed individuals pursue opportunities they were not positioned to capture. Position is preparation, made visible. It's the accumulation of small advantages that compound into decisive superiority. It's having the right resources in the right place at the right time for the right purpose. But here's what most people don't understand. Positioning happens before you need it. You don't build relationships when you need help. You don't develop skills when you face challenges. You don't gather resources when opportunities appear. You position beforehand. Look at your current situation. What position are you in relative to your goals? Do you have the skills required, the relationships needed, the resources necessary, the reputation established? If the opportunity appeared tomorrow, would you be positioned to capture it? The unpositioned person says, "I'll figure it out when the time comes." The positioned person says, "I'm ready when the time comes." The difference is not talent. The difference is preparation. Position creates options. The better your position, the more choices you have when action is required. Poor positioning forces desperate moves. Good positioning enables calculated moves. Excellent positioning makes victory inevitable. Most people position themselves for where they are, not where they're going. They build skills for their current job, not their target role. They form relationships in their current industry, not their desired industry. They gather resources for current needs, not future opportunities. The master positions for the future while operating in the present. He builds tomorrow's advantages today. He prepares for opportunities that don't yet exist. He develops capabilities for challenges not yet visible. But let me ask you this. What position would you need to occupy to make your goal inevitable, not possible, not probable, inevitable? What skills, relationships, resources, and reputations would eliminate uncertainty from your pursuit? Positioning requires sacrifice. You can't be positioned for everything. You must choose which advantages to build and which to abandon. The master positions for maximum leverage, not maximum options. Some positions are built through accumulation, knowledge accumulated through study, skills accumulated through practice, relationships accumulated through service, resources accumulated through discipline. Other positions are built through elimination, distractions eliminated to create focus, commitments eliminated to create availability, competing priorities eliminated to create clarity, bad habits eliminated to create capacity. The most powerful position is one your competitors cannot quickly replicate. Anyone can copy tactics. Few can copy years of relationship building. Anyone can copy products. Few can copy institutional knowledge. Anyone can copy strategies. Few can copy positioning. Your position should be so strong that you win by showing up. The outcome is determined by what you bring to the situation, not what you do in the situation. This is how you move from hoping for success to engineering it. Positioning also means understanding your competitors' positions. Where are they strong? Where are they weak? Where are they unprepared? The master positions himself where his advantages are maximized and his opponent's advantages are neutralized. Most battles are lost not through poor execution, but through poor positioning. You can execute perfectly from a disadvantageous position and still lose to mediocre execution from a superior position. The general chooses his battlefield. The entrepreneur chooses his market. The professional chooses his industry. The master chooses positions where his strengths align with opportunity, and his weaknesses become irrelevant. Never rush into action from poor position. It's better to delay and improve your position than to move quickly from disadvantage. Time spent positioning is time invested in inevitable success. This is how you build sustainable advantage, not through superior effort, through superior positioning, not through working harder, through positioning smarter. Position first. Then move with the certainty that victory is already secured. Panic is loud. Precision is quiet. Stay still when others flinch. The moment you lose your composure is the moment you surrender your advantage. Emotion makes you predictable. Calm makes you dangerous. While others react to pressure, you respond. To opportunity, most people believe that intensity equals effectiveness. They think visible effort demonstrates commitment. They confuse emotional investment with strategic investment. This thinking reveals itself under pressure, and under pressure, this thinking fails. I have observed that the loudest voice in the room is rarely the most influential. The most agitated person is rarely the most effective. The most emotional argument is rarely the most persuasive. Calm commands attention. Chaos demands attention. The master understands that calm is not the absence of intensity. Calm is intensity under control. It's power managed rather than power unleashed. It's strength conserved for the moment it matters most. But here's what most people don't understand. Calm is a strategic choice, not a natural temperament. You can develop the ability to remain centered when circumstances become chaotic. You can learn to think clearly when others think emotionally. Look at your behavior under pressure. Do you become more effective or less effective? Do you make better decisions or worse decisions? Do you see more options or fewer options? Your answer reveals whether you've weaponized calm or surrendered to chaos. The panicked person makes decisions to relieve anxiety rather than achieve objectives. The calm person makes decisions to advance position regardless of emotional state. Panic seeks immediate relief. Calm seeks optimal outcomes. Calm creates space between stimulus and response. In that space lives choice. Without that space, you become automatic. You react instead of respond. You become predictable instead of strategic. Most people equate calm with passivity. They think calm people lack urgency or commitment. This is a dangerous misunderstanding. The calm person can act more decisively than the agitated person because clarity enables precision. When others lose composure, they reveal information. They show their fears, their weaknesses, their desperation. The calm observer collects this information while revealing nothing. Calm becomes an intelligence-gathering tool. But let me ask you this. What situations consistently disrupt your composure? Criticism, time pressure, unexpected obstacles, difficult people, resource constraints? These are not just challenging situations. These are opportunities to develop tactical calm. The untrained mind treats every problem as an emergency. The trained mind distinguishes between urgency and importance. Most situations that feel urgent are not actually urgent. Most problems that feel overwhelming are not actually overwhelming. Calm allows you to see the full range of options available. Panic narrows vision to immediate escape routes. Calm expands vision to strategic alternatives. The panicked person sees one way out. The calm person sees multiple paths forward. This is not about suppressing emotion. This is about not being controlled by emotion. Feel what you feel, then think what you need to think. Then do what you need to do. Emotion informs. Logic decides. Action executes. Calm is contagious. When you remain centered in chaos, others look to you for direction. Your composure becomes their anchor. Your clarity becomes their guidance. Leadership emerges not from volume, but from steadiness. The master practices calm during non-critical situations, so it's available during critical situations. You don't develop composure when you need it. You develop composure before you need it. Most advantages can be copied. Strategies can be replicated. Tactics can be learned. But calm under pressure is developed through experience. It cannot be purchased or borrowed. It must be earned through practice. Calm also means accepting what you cannot control, while focusing intensely on what you can control. The things you cannot control create anxiety when you try to control them. The things you can control create results when you actually control them. Your reaction to circumstances is always within your control. Your interpretation of events is always within your control. Your next action is always within your control. Focus here. This is where your power lives. The calm person appears to move slower, but arrives faster, appears to work less, but accomplishes more, appears to care less, but achieves more. This is the paradox of tactical calm. When everyone else is losing their own minds, your composure becomes your competitive advantage. When everyone else is making emotional decisions, your logical decisions stand out. When everyone else is reacting to problems, your responses create solutions. Develop the discipline of calm. Practice it in small situations so it's available in large situations. Use it as a weapon that disarms emotional opponents. Use it as a tool that creates clarity in confusion. This is how you maintain advantage when advantage matters most. This is how you think clearly when clear thinking is most valuable. This is how you move strategically when strategic movement determines outcomes. Divided attention weakens output. Remove distraction. Lock in. The scattered mind produces scattered results. Every additional priority reduces the power applied to your primary objective. Every distraction delays your progress. Every competing focus dilutes your effectiveness. Most people pride themselves on multitasking. They believe that juggling multiple priorities demonstrates capability. They think divided attention proves their importance. This is the thinking that guarantees mediocrity. I have watched armies fail because they tried to defend too many positions simultaneously. I have seen businesses collapse because they pursued too many opportunities at once. I have observed individuals achieve less by attempting more. The master understands that focus is not limitation. Focus is amplification. It takes the same energy you would spread across many targets and concentrates it on one target. The result is not incremental improvement. The result is exponential impact. But here's what most people don't understand. Focus requires the courage to disappoint. Every yes to your priority is a no to someone else's priority. Every commitment to your focus is a rejection of their request. Focus forces choice, and choice creates enemies. Look at your current attention. How many projects are you actively pursuing? How many goals are you simultaneously chasing? How many different areas demand your daily energy? The number reveals why progress feels slow. The unfocused person says, "I don't want to miss any opportunities." The focused person says, "I don't want to miss the one opportunity that matters." The unfocused person fears scarcity. The focused person creates abundance. Focus transforms effort into results. The same amount of work applied to one target produces exponentially more progress than the same work applied to multiple targets. This is not theory. This is physics. Most people confuse being busy with being productive. They measure their worth by how many things they're working on rather than how much progress they're making. Busy feels important. Productive creates outcomes. The amateur adds new projects when current projects become difficult. The master eliminates projects when current projects become critical. The amateur seeks complexity to avoid depth. The master seeks depth to create mastery. But let me ask you this. What would happen if you applied all your current energy to your most important goal? Not 80% of your energy, not 90%, all of it. What could you accomplish in 3 months with undivided attention? Focus also means focusing on the right thing. Many people focus intensely on the wrong target. They develop deep expertise in declining industries. They perfect skills that technology is replacing. They master tactics while ignoring strategy. Master focuses on activities that compound, skills that become more valuable over time, relationships that create increasing opportunities, assets that generate expanding returns, knowledge that multiplies in application. Focus requires constant protection. Every day brings requests for your attention. Every interaction offers distractions from your priority. Every opportunity promises to complement your focus while actually competing with it. The focused mind says no automatically to anything that doesn't serve the primary objective. No explanation required, no guilt experienced, no negotiation entertained. The focus itself becomes the filter for all decisions. Most people lose focus gradually. They don't abandon their priority suddenly, they erode it slowly. A small project here, a minor commitment there, a quick favor for someone, death by 1,000 small distractions. The master guards focus like he guards life, because focus is what transforms life from random events into directed outcomes. Focus is what converts time into results. Focus is what separates those who achieve their goals from those who pursue their goals. This requires different thinking about opportunity. Not every opportunity is your opportunity. Not every good idea is your good idea. Not every chance to help is your chance to help. The best opportunities for others might be the worst distractions for you. Your focus should be so clear that you can describe it in one sentence. So compelling that you think about it without effort. So specific that every decision either supports it or threatens it. Strip away everything that doesn't serve your primary focus. Every commitment that drains energy without creating progress. Every project that feels important but isn't essential. Every activity that keeps you busy but doesn't move you forward. Focus is not what you do when you have time. Focus is what you do instead of everything else. It's not an addition to your current activities. It's a replacement for your current activities. The master understands that mastery requires sustained attention over extended time. Excellence emerges from depth, not breadth. Expertise develops through concentration, not distribution. This is how you accelerate progress. Not by working on more things, by working on fewer things with more intensity, not by spreading effort across multiple targets, by concentrating force at the point of maximum impact. Lock in, remove distractions, protect your attention like you protect your assets. Because in the modern world, attention is your most valuable asset. Focus it well, and it multiplies everything else. Some battles aren't worth fighting. Energy preserved is energy redirected. The master wins more battles by refusing to fight than by fighting brilliantly. Every engagement costs resources. Every conflict demands attention. Every battle fought is energy unavailable for the battles that matter. Most people fight every battle presented to them. They respond to every criticism. They defend against every attack. They engage with every opponent. This is not strength. This is weakness disguised as principle. I have watched capable individuals destroy themselves by fighting unnecessary wars. I have seen successful businesses collapse because they competed in every market. I have observed talented leaders fail because they tried to solve every problem. The amateur believes that backing down shows weakness. The master understands that backing down shows wisdom. Not every challenge deserves a response. Not every opponent deserves your attention. Not every problem requires your solution, but here's what most people don't understand. Choosing not to fight is still a strategic choice. Ignorance requires as much intelligence as engagement. You must understand what you're ignoring and why. You're ignoring it. Look at how you spend your mental energy. How much time do you waste on arguments that don't advance your position? How much attention do you give to people who don't influence your outcomes? How much energy do you invest in problems that solve themselves? The reactive person lets others set his agenda. The strategic person sets his own agenda. The reactive person fights on terrain chosen by his opponents. The strategic person chooses terrain that favors his strengths. Most conflicts are not about the stated issue. They're about control, recognition, or dominance. Understanding the real conflict helps you decide whether engagement serves your interests or serves someone else's need for conflict. The master asks, what do I gain by winning this battle? What do I lose by fighting it? What opportunities do I miss while I'm engaged? If the answers don't favor engagement, he withdraws his energy and redirects it elsewhere. But let me ask you this. What battles are you currently fighting that don't actually matter? What arguments are you having that won't change outcomes? What problems are you solving that don't advance your goals? Some battles are distractions dressed as opportunities. They appear important but serve no strategic purpose. They consume resources without creating advantages. They engage your ego while undermining your objectives. The master distinguishes between problems that require his attention and problems that require someone else's attention. He solves problems that only he can solve. He ignores problems that others can solve better. Most people are addicted to being needed. They insert themselves into every crisis. They volunteer for every challenge. They believe their worth is measured by how many problems they solve. This addiction prevents them from solving the problems that matter. Your energy is finite. Your attention is limited. Your time is irreplaceable. These constraints force choice. The master chooses carefully. The amateur chooses carelessly. Some opponents want to fight you more than you want to fight them. This asymmetry creates advantage. While they invest energy in conflict, you invest energy in progress. While they focus on you, you focus on your objectives. The master also ignores the opinions of people who don't influence his outcomes. He doesn't seek approval from audiences that don't matter. He doesn't defend himself to critics who lack the power to help or harm. Most people exhaust themselves fighting for recognition from the wrong people. They want respect from competitors instead of customers. They want validation from peers instead of results from markets. They fight for applause instead of achievement. But some battles must be fought. Some conflicts serve strategic purposes. Some opponents must be engaged. The master fights these battles with full commitment because he ignored the battles that didn't matter. This is how you concentrate force where it matters most, by refusing to dissipate force where it matters least, by ignoring the irrelevant so you can focus on the essential, by saying no to everything except your highest priorities. Learn to recognize battles that serve others more than they serve you. Learn to identify conflicts that delay your progress while advancing someone else's agenda. Learn to see problems that exist to consume your energy without creating your results. The general who fights every battle loses the war. The entrepreneur who solves every problem neglects his business. The individual who engages every conflict exhausts his capacity for the conflicts that determine his future. Develop the discipline of strategic ignorance, not ignorance from laziness, ignorance from intelligence, not ignoring everything, ignoring the things that don't serve your mission so you can focus completely on the things that do. This is how you preserve energy for the battles that matter. This is how you maintain focus on the goals that count. This is how you win the war by refusing to fight most of the battles. Plans break. Principles hold. Stay flexible in approach, firm in mission. The most dangerous general is one who never changes tactics. The most vulnerable business is one that never adjusts strategy. The most fragile individual is one who never adapts approach. Rigidity guarantees obsolescence. Most people confuse consistency with inflexibility. They believe that changing methods shows weakness or lack of commitment. They think adaptation means abandonment. This thinking creates brittle strategies that shatter when conditions shift. I have observed armies that executed perfect plans against enemies who no longer existed. I have seen businesses that optimized operations for markets that had evolved. I have watched individuals who perfected skills that technology had replaced. The master distinguishes between principles that should never change and tactics that must constantly evolve. His mission remains fixed. His methods remain fluid. His destination is permanent. His path adapts to terrain. But here's what most people don't understand. Adaptability is not random change. Adaptability is intelligent response to new information. It's adjusting method while protecting mission. It's changing how without changing why. Look at your current approach to your goals. How long have you been using the same methods? What has changed in your environment since you began? What new information have you ignored because it didn't fit your existing plan? The rigid person says, "This is how I've always done it." The adaptive person says, "This is how I used to do it." The rigid person defends method. The adaptive person achieves mission. Adaptation requires constant learning. The environment is always sending signals about what works and what doesn't work. The adaptive person receives these signals and adjusts accordingly. The rigid person ignores these signals and repeats failing approaches. Most people adapt too, slowly because they're emotionally invested in their current methods. They've spent time developing systems. They've told people about their plans. They've committed to specific approaches. Changing feels like failure. The master understands that the only failure is failing to adapt when adaptation is required. Markets evolve, technologies advance, competitors adjust, conditions shift. The strategy that worked yesterday may not work today, but let me ask you this. What evidence would you need to see before changing your current approach? What results would convince you that adjustment is necessary? If you can't answer these questions, you're committed to method rather than outcome. Adaptability also means having multiple approaches ready. The master doesn't just have plan A, he has plans B, C, and D prepared before he needs them. When plan A encounters obstacles, he shifts to plan B without losing momentum. Most people waste time creating perfect plans rather than creating adaptable plans. They optimize for the scenario they expect, rather than building flexibility for scenarios they don't expect. They prepare for success, but not for complications. The adaptive person tests approaches quickly and cheaply. He gathers feedback rapidly. He adjusts based on results rather than assumptions. He treats every method as an experiment rather than a commitment. This requires different thinking about failure. Failure is not proof that your goal is wrong. Failure is proof that your method needs adjustment. The goal remains constant. The method evolves. Adaptability without direction is chaos. Direction without adaptability is rigidity. The master combines both. He knows exactly where he's going and remains completely flexible about how he gets there. Most successful outcomes result from adapted plans, not original plans. The original plan creates momentum. The adapted plan creates results. The original plan begins the journey. The adapted plan completes it. The master also adapts faster than his competition. While they're still executing outdated strategies, he's already implementing updated approaches. Speed of adaptation becomes competitive advantage. This means building feedback systems that reveal when adaptation is needed. Metrics that show when approaches are working and when they're failing. Indicators that signal when conditions have changed enough to require new methods. The rigid general fights yesterday's battle. The adaptive general fights today's battle with tomorrow's intelligence. The rigid entrepreneur serves yesterday's market. The adaptive entrepreneur serves today's market with tomorrow's solution. Your principles should be non-negotiable. Your methods should be completely negotiable. Your values should remain constant. Your tactics should evolve constantly. Your destination should be fixed. Your route should be flexible. This is how you maintain progress when conditions change. This is how you stay relevant when environments evolve. This is how you achieve permanent goals through temporary methods. The world rewards those who adapt intelligently, not those who persist blindly. Adapt your approach while protecting your mission. Change your methods while preserving your principles. Evolution, not revolution. Adjustment, not abandonment. Confidence is not a feeling. It's a byproduct of readiness. The unprepared mind faces every challenge as a crisis. The prepared mind faces every challenge as a planned scenario. Preparation doesn't eliminate obstacles. Preparation eliminates surprises. Most people confuse confidence with optimism. They think confidence means feeling good about outcomes. True confidence comes from knowing you can handle whatever outcomes occur. It's not about predicting the future. It's about being ready for multiple futures. I have seen armies panic when enemies used unexpected tactics. I have watched businesses collapse when markets shifted unpredictably. I have observed individuals freeze when circumstances changed suddenly. In every case, inadequate preparation created the panic. The master prepares for scenarios he hopes will never occur. He builds capacity he hopes he'll never need. He develops skills for situations he hopes to avoid. This is not pessimism. This is strategic preparation. But here's what most people don't understand. Preparation is not about preparing for everything. Preparation is about preparing for the most likely scenarios and the most dangerous scenarios. You can't prepare for everything, but you can prepare for what matters. Look at your current major goals. What could go wrong? What obstacles are likely to appear? What resources might become unavailable? What competitors might emerge? If you can't answer these questions, you're hoping for luck rather than preparing for reality. The unprepared person says, "I'll deal with problems when they arise." The prepared person says, "I've already thought about how to deal with problems before they arise." The unprepared person improvises solutions. The prepared person executes planned responses. Preparation creates calm under pressure. When you've thought through scenarios beforehand, you don't waste mental energy figuring out what to do. You apply mental energy to executing what you've already decided to do. Most people avoid preparation because it forces them to confront uncomfortable possibilities. They prefer optimistic assumptions to realistic planning. They choose hope over readiness. This choice creates anxiety when reality doesn't match assumptions. The prepared person faces uncertainty with calm because he's ready for multiple outcomes. The unprepared person faces uncertainty with anxiety because he's ready for only one outcome. Preparation converts uncertainty from threat to opportunity. But let me ask you this. What are you currently unprepared for? What situation would create panic if it occurred tomorrow? What skills do you lack for challenges you might face? These gaps reveal where preparation is needed. Preparation has layers. Basic preparation handles common scenarios. Advanced preparation handles uncommon scenarios. Master-level preparation handles scenarios that seem impossible until they happen. The master prepares physically, mentally, and emotionally. Physical preparation means having resources, tools, and systems ready. Mental preparation means having knowledge, skills, and strategies ready. Emotional preparation means having composure, perspective, and resilience ready. Most people prepare for success, but not for complications. They plan for everything going right, but not for anything going wrong. They prepare for the best case, but not for the worst case. This creates fragility disguised as optimism. The prepared person doesn't just have Plan A, he has Plans B, C, and D ready to implement. When Plan A encounters obstacles, he shifts to Plan B without losing momentum. When Plan B faces challenges, Plan C activates automatically. Preparation also means preparing others, your team, your family, your partners. Collective preparation multiplies individual preparation. When everyone knows their role in various scenarios, the group responds instead of reacts. The master runs scenarios in his mind before they occur in reality. He practices responses before responses are needed. He rehearses decisions before decisions are required. Mental preparation precedes physical execution. This is different from worry. Worry imagines problems without solutions. Preparation imagines problems with solutions. Worry creates anxiety. Preparation creates confidence. Most people think they don't have time to prepare. The master knows he doesn't have time not to prepare. Time spent preparing saves time when challenges occur. Every hour of preparation saves multiple hours of crisis management. Preparation doesn't guarantee success. Preparation guarantees that you won't be defeated by the predictable. It frees your energy to handle the truly unpredictable. Instead of struggling with scenarios you should have anticipated, the unprepared person uses all his energy solving problems that preparation would have prevented. The prepared person uses his energy capitalizing on opportunities that preparation makes possible. This is how you move from reactive to proactive, from victim of circumstances to master of circumstances, from someone who hopes things work out to someone who makes things work out. Prepare for what you can control. Prepare for what you can't control. Prepare for what you hope happens. Prepare for what you hope doesn't happen. Preparation is the foundation of all other advantages. The master understands that in the moment of crisis, you don't rise to the worst occasion. You fall to your level of preparation. Prepare well, and when pressure comes, you'll discover that confidence was there all along. Don't take failure personally. Take it strategically. Then adjust. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is information disguised as setback. Every failure contains data about what doesn't work, which brings you closer to understanding what does work. The master treats failure as feedback, not as verdict. Most people avoid failure because they fear judgment. They see failure as evidence of inadequacy rather than evidence of experimentation. They take failure personally instead of taking it strategically. This fear of failure prevents the experimentation that creates success. I have watched armies learn more from defeats than from victories. I have seen merchants discover profitable strategies only after unprofitable attempts. I have observed leaders develop wisdom through mistakes they would never choose to repeat. The master understands that failure and success are both temporary conditions. Neither defines his capability or determines his future. Both provide information for improving his approach. The amateur runs from failure. The master runs toward the lessons failure contains. But here's what most people don't understand. The goal is not to avoid failure. The goal is to fail quickly, cheaply, and instructively. Fast failure is better than slow failure. Small failure is better than large failure. Instructive failure is better than meaningless failure. Look at your recent setbacks. What patterns do they reveal? What assumptions did they expose as incorrect? What approaches did they prove ineffective? If you can't answer these questions, you experienced failure without gaining its value. The defensive person sees failure as attack on their competence. The strategic person sees failure as information about their approach. The defensive person hides failure. The strategic person studies failure. Most people waste the value of failure by focusing on blame rather than learning. They ask, who is responsible? Instead of, what can we learn? They seek to assign fault instead of extract insight. This transforms failure from teacher into enemy. The master asks different questions when failure occurs. What assumptions were wrong? What information was missing? What variables were underestimated? What approach needs adjustment? These questions convert failure from problem into solution. But let me ask you this. What failures have you experienced that you haven't fully analyzed? What setbacks contain lessons you haven't extracted? What feedback are you ignoring because it came through failure rather than success? The amateur tries to succeed on the first attempt. The master tries to learn on every attempt. The amateur measures progress by wins and losses. The master measures progress by speed of learning and quality of adjustment. Failure also reveals what you truly believe versus what you think you believe. When strategies fail, you discover whether you actually understood them or just thought you understood them. When plans collapse, you learn whether your confidence was based on preparation or hope. Most people react to failure emotionally before they respond to it strategically. They feel disappointed, frustrated, or embarrassed. These emotions are natural, but they shouldn't determine the response. Feel what you need to feel, then think what you need to think. The master separates his identity from his results. He is not his successes. He is not his failures. He is someone who learns from both successes and failures to improve his approach. This separation allows objective analysis without emotional interference. This doesn't mean being careless with failure. This means being intelligent about failure. Design experiments that limit downside while maximizing learning. Test approaches in small markets before committing to large markets. Pilot programs before launching systems. The most dangerous failure is the failure you don't learn from. The failure that repeats because you didn't extract its lessons. The failure that becomes pattern because you focused on outcome rather than cause. Some failures are more valuable than some successes. Success can hide flaws in your approach that become problems later. Failure exposes flaws in your approach that you can fix immediately. Early failure prevents later catastrophe. The master also learns from other people's failures. He studies what doesn't work for others so he doesn't have to discover it personally. He learns from their mistakes so he can avoid making the same mistakes. This is how you accelerate learning, by treating every outcome as information rather than judgment. By asking, what does this teach me? Instead of, what does this mean about me? By focusing on adjustment rather than blame. The fastest path to success runs through failure. Not because failure is good, but because failure teaches what success cannot teach. Success confirms what works. Failure reveals what doesn't work. Both are necessary for mastery. Transform failure from enemy into teacher, from setback into setup, from problem into information. The failure you learn from becomes the foundation for future success. The failure you ignore becomes the pattern that repeats. Use failure as your feedback system. Let it guide your adjustments. Let it inform your improvements. Let it accelerate your learning. The master who learns fastest from failure succeeds fastest in reality. Fast fades. Precise lasts. Be surgical, not frantic. The most impressive effort is often the least effective effort. Intensity without efficiency is just sophisticated exhaustion. The person who works frantically appears dedicated, but often accomplishes less than the person who works precisely. Most people mistake effort for progress. They confuse being busy with being productive. They believe that working harder automatically creates better results. This is the thinking that leads to burnout without breakthrough. I have watched armies exhaust themselves with impressive charges that achieved nothing. I have seen merchants work tirelessly in declining markets while competitors work strategically in growing markets. I have observed individuals sacrifice health and relationships for goals they could have achieved with smarter approaches. The master understands that results matter more than effort. The market doesn't pay you for how hard you work. It pays you for how much value you create. Your goals don't care about your sacrifice. They care about your effectiveness. But here's what most people don't understand. Efficiency is not about working less. Efficiency is about working smarter. It's about identifying the activities that produce the most results and focusing your energy there. It's about finding the path of least resistance to your objective. Look at your current work patterns. What percentage of your daily activities directly advance your primary goals? What percentage feels important but creates minimal progress? The ratio reveals your relationship with efficiency. The inefficient person adds more effort when progress slows. The efficient person examines why progress slowed and removes obstacles. The inefficient person works longer hours. The efficient person identifies which hours produce the most value. Most people are addicted to the feeling of being busy. Busyness feels important. Busyness creates the illusion of progress. Busyness generates sympathy from others who are also busy. But busyness is not achievement. The master asks, what is the minimum effort required to achieve the maximum result? This is not laziness. This is optimization. This is finding the precise point where effort converts most efficiently into outcome. But let me ask you this. What would happen if you eliminated the least productive 50% of your current activities? What if you doubled down on the most productive 20%? The answer reveals the power of efficiency over intensity. Efficiency comes from understanding leverage. Some activities produce exponential returns, other activities produce linear returns. Most activities produce no meaningful returns. The efficient person identifies the exponential activities and focuses there. The amateur does everything personally because it feels important. The master delegates what others can do better so he can focus on what only he can do. The amateur controls every detail. The master controls only the details that determine outcomes. Most people resist efficiency because it requires saying no to activities that feel important. It demands sacrificing the urgent for the essential. It forces choosing fewer things to do so you can do them better. The master also understands that efficiency compounds over time. Small improvements in efficiency create large advantages over extended periods. The person who is 10% more efficient than his competition will be exponentially ahead after 1 year. This doesn't mean cutting corners or reducing quality. This means finding better ways to achieve the same quality results. This means eliminating waste without eliminating value. This means optimizing process without compromising outcome. The efficient person treats energy as finite resource that must be allocated strategically. The inefficient person treats energy as unlimited resource that can be applied everywhere. One approach creates sustainable success. The other creates temporary progress followed by exhaustion. Efficiency also means knowing when to stop. The amateur keeps working when additional effort produces diminishing returns. The master stops when optimal results have been achieved and redirects energy to the next priority. Most breakthroughs come from working differently, not working harder. From finding the right approach rather than applying more effort to the wrong approach. From precision rather than persistence. The master studies successful people not to copy their effort, but to understand their efficiency. How do they achieve results with less struggle? What do they do that others don't do? What don't they do that others waste time doing? This is how you achieve more while sacrificing less. How you accomplish goals without sacrificing health, relationships, or sanity. How you create sustainable success rather than temporary achievement. Measure results, not effort. Optimize for effectiveness, not impressiveness. Choose precision over intensity. Choose strategy over struggle. Choose efficiency over exhaustion. The inefficient person creates effort. The efficient person creates results. The inefficient person impresses people with how hard he works. The efficient person impresses people with what he accomplishes. Be surgical in your approach. Identify exactly what produces results. Focus your energy precisely there. Eliminate everything else. This is how you achieve maximum outcome with minimum waste. This is how you work smarter while others work harder. You can't control results. You can only control what you do right now. The amateur focuses on outcomes he cannot control. The master focuses on actions he can control completely. The amateur measures success by results achieved. The master measures success by execution quality. One approach creates anxiety, the other creates power. Most people attach their worth to their results. When results are good, they feel valuable. When results are poor, they feel worthless. This attachment creates emotional volatility that undermines consistent performance. It makes success feel accidental and failure feel personal. I have observed that the most successful individuals are often the least attached to success. They focus intensely on doing their best work and allow results to emerge naturally. They control what they can control and accept what they cannot control. The master understands that results are influenced by factors beyond his control. Market conditions, timing, competition, economic forces, other people's decisions. Attaching to results means attaching to variables outside his influence. This is a recipe for frustration, but here's what most people don't understand. Detaching from outcomes doesn't mean not caring about outcomes. It means focusing on the actions that create outcomes, rather than worrying about the outcomes themselves. It means controlling the controllable. Look at your current relationship with your goals. How much mental energy do you spend thinking about results versus planning actions? How much time do you waste worrying about outcomes versus improving execution? The ratio reveals whether you're focused on cause or effect. The attached person says, I must achieve this result. The detached person says, I must execute this process. The attached person creates pressure that interferes with performance. The detached person creates focus that enhances performance. Most people think that caring less about outcomes means achieving fewer outcomes. The opposite is true. When you stop worrying about results, you can focus completely on the actions that create results. When you detach from pressure, you increase your capacity for precision. The amateur tries to control everything. The master controls only what he can control. The amateur fights against external circumstances. The master adapts to external circumstances while maintaining internal focus. But let me ask you this. What percentage of your goal's success depends on factors you cannot control? Market conditions, other people's decisions, timing, competition, economic forces? If the percentage is high, attachment to outcomes creates anxiety without advantage. Detachment is not indifference. Detachment is strategic focus. You care deeply about doing excellent work. You care less about whether excellent work produces immediate results. You trust that consistent, excellent work produces eventual results. The attached person's performance fluctuates with results. Good results create overconfidence. Poor results create self-doubt. This emotional volatility makes consistent execution. Impossible. The detached person maintains consistent execution regardless of immediate results. Most people abandon good strategies after poor results. They change approaches based on outcomes rather than analysis. They let results determine their actions instead of letting actions determine their results. This reactive approach prevents long-term success. The master executes his strategy consistently, regardless of short-term results. He evaluates strategy based on logic, not outcomes. He adjusts tactics based on feedback, not frustration. He maintains process discipline when results test his patience. This requires different thinking about success and failure. Success is not achieving desired outcomes. Success is executing your process at the highest level, regardless of outcomes. Failure is not poor results. Failure is poor execution. The detached person also handles success better. Good results don't create complacency because success is measured by execution quality, not outcome achievement. Poor results don't create desperation because failure is measured by execution quality, not outcome achievement. Most people's performance deteriorates under pressure because they're thinking about results while executing. The detached person's performance improves under pressure because he's thinking only about execution while executing. This is the paradox of detachment. When you stop trying to control results, you increase your ability to influence results. When you focus only on what you can control, you expand your sphere of influence. When you detach from outcomes, you increase your capacity to create outcomes. The master understands that his job is to execute perfectly. The universe's job is to determine results. He does his job completely and lets the universe do its job completely. This division of responsibility creates inner peace and outer effectiveness. Attach to your process. Detach from your results. Commit completely to execution. Accept completely whatever outcomes emerge. Control what you can control. Release what you cannot control. This is how you perform at your highest level without the interference of outcome anxiety. This is how you maintain consistency regardless of immediate results. This is how you build long-term success through short-term focus. Focus on cause, not effect. Focus on input, not output. Focus on action, not result. Focus on execution, not outcome. The master who executes perfectly while detached from results achieves better results than the amateur who executes poorly while attached to results. What no one sees is what makes everything else possible. The battle is won before it's fought. The victory is earned before it's visible. The success is created before it's recognized. What determines outcomes happens in moments when nobody is watching, measuring, or applauding. Most people focus on public performances while neglecting private preparation. They optimize for visible activities while ignoring invisible foundations. They work hard when others are watching and coast when others are not. This approach guarantees mediocre results disguised as effort. I have observed that the most decisive factors in any conflict occur away from the battlefield. The intelligence gathered in secret, the alliances formed in private, the strategies refined in solitude, the preparations made in darkness. Victory emerges from invisible work. The master understands that reputation is built in public, but capability is built in private. Skills are developed when no one is watching. Character is forged when no one is measuring. Discipline is practiced when no one is applauding. The invisible moments create the visible results. But here's what most people don't understand. The invisible moments are where you compete against yourself, not against others. Others can match your public effort. Others can copy your visible strategies. Others cannot replicate your private discipline or duplicate your unseen preparation. Look at your behavior when nobody is watching, when there's no immediate reward for doing the work, when there is no immediate consequence for skipping the work, when there's no audience to impress or disappoint. This behavior reveals your true relationship with success. The performer works hard when others are watching. The master works hard when others are not watching. The performer optimizes for applause. The master optimizes for excellence. The performer builds image. The master builds capability. Most people are inconsistent because they're motivated by external recognition rather than internal standards. When recognition is available, they perform well. When recognition is absent, they perform poorly. This inconsistency prevents mastery. The master maintains the same standards in private that he maintains in public. His work ethic doesn't fluctuate based on audience. His commitment doesn't vary based on visibility. His excellence doesn't depend on recognition. But let me ask you this. What do you do when nobody is watching that others would be impressed by if they saw it? What standards do you maintain when there's no immediate benefit? What work do you complete when there's no immediate recognition? The invisible moments include the extra repetition when you're already tired, the additional study when you could stop, the careful attention to detail when shortcuts are available, the maintenance of standards when standards don't seem to matter. These moments don't feel important because their impact isn't immediate, but they compound over time into visible advantages. The discipline practiced in private becomes the skill demonstrated in public. The work done in darkness becomes the success seen in light. Most people underestimate the power of invisible moments because they can't measure their immediate impact. They can't see how one additional repetition contributes to mastery. They can't track how one day of private discipline creates public capability. The master trusts the process of invisible work. He knows that consistent effort in unseen moments creates exponential results in seen moments. He invests in activities that don't pay immediate dividends because he understands delayed gratification. The invisible moments also include what you don't do, the temptations you resist when resistance isn't required, the shortcuts you refuse when shortcuts are available, the standards you maintain when lower standards would be acceptable. This is where character is built. Character is not what you do when others are watching. Character is what you do when others are not watching. Character is maintaining your values when maintaining them serves no immediate purpose. The master's private behavior is consistent with his public behavior. His internal standards match his external performance. His invisible work aligns with his visible goals. This alignment creates integrity, and integrity creates power. Most breakthroughs appear sudden, but are actually the result of accumulated invisible work finally becoming visible. The overnight success that took 10 years, the sudden improvement that emerged from countless unseen repetitions, the apparent luck that resulted from persistent unseen preparation. The invisible moments are also where you develop the mental strength to handle visible pressure, the discipline to maintain focus when distractions are available, the resilience to continue when results are delayed, the consistency to execute when motivation is absent. This is where you separate yourself from your competition. While they're optimizing for immediate recognition, you're building long-term capability. While they're performing for others, you're preparing for opportunity. While they're seeking applause, you're seeking mastery. Victory is earned in the invisible moments because the invisible moments are where you become the person capable of achieving visible victory. Success happens in public, but successful people are created in private. Honor the invisible moments. Respect the unseen work. Value the unrecognized effort. These moments are not less important because they're invisible. They're more important because they're invisible. They're where the real work happens. If your system is sound, success stops being luck. It becomes a pattern. The amateur hopes for success. The master engineers success. The amateur depends on conditions aligning perfectly. The master creates conditions that make success probable, regardless of external circumstances. One approach relies on chance. The other relies on system. Most people achieve success accidentally and lose it predictably. They succeed when conditions favor them and fail when conditions don't. They cannot replicate their successes because they don't understand what created them. They mistake correlation for causation. I have observed that those who achieve lasting success do so through systems, not events. They create processes that produce results consistently. They build structures that work regardless of their mood, motivation, or external circumstances. They make success inevitable through intelligent design. The master understands that success is not a destination. Success is a system. It's not something you achieve once. It's something you create repeatedly through reliable processes. It's not about reaching a goal. It's about building mechanisms that reach goals automatically. But here's what most people don't understand. Making success inevitable requires making failure impossible through your system, not through your effort. Your system should be so robust that it produces results even when you're having a bad day, feeling unmotivated, or facing obstacles. Look at your current approach to your most important goal. If you followed your exact same process for the next 12 months, would success be inevitable, or would it depend on luck? If success depends on luck, you need a better system, not more effort. The accidental achiever says, "I hope this works." The systematic achiever says, "This will work because I've designed it to work." The accidental achiever crosses their fingers. The systematic achiever creates certainty through process. Most people focus on goals rather than systems. They think about what they want to achieve rather than what they need to do consistently to achieve it. Goals are important for direction. Systems are essential for results. The master builds systems that make the right actions automatic. He creates environments that make good choices easier than bad choices. He designs processes that work with human nature rather than against it. He makes success the path of least resistance. But let me ask you this. What would a system look like that made your goal inevitable? What processes would need to be in place? What actions would need to become automatic? What environment would need to be created? Design this system, then implement it. Systems think in probabilities, not certainties. A good system doesn't guarantee success in every instance. A good system makes success highly probable over time. It increases your success rate from random to reliable. The systematic person also builds redundancy into their approach. Multiple ways to achieve the same outcome. Backup plans for when primary plans encounter obstacles. Alternative routes when main routes become blocked. This redundancy prevents single points of failure. Most people abandon their approach after temporary setbacks. The systematic person maintains their approach through temporary setbacks because the system is designed to handle obstacles. Temporary failures don't threaten the system. They test the system. The master creates leading indicators that predict success before success becomes visible. He tracks inputs that create outputs. He monitors process metrics that determine result metrics. He manages causes rather than effects. This allows course correction before problems become crises. When leading indicators show the system is working, confidence increases. When leading indicators show the system needs adjustment, adjustments happen quickly. The systematic approach also scales. Once you create a system that works, you can apply more resources to the system and multiply results. You can teach the system to others and multiply impact. You can refine the system and multiply efficiency. Most people cannot explain why they succeeded when they succeed or why they failed when they fail. The systematic person can explain both because success and failure emerge predictably from system performance. This understanding enables continuous improvement. The master builds systems that improve themselves over time. Feedback loops that make the system more effective. Learning mechanisms that make the system more intelligent. Adaptation processes that make the system more resilient. This creates compound improvement. The system gets better while producing results. Results improve while effort remains constant. Outcomes multiply while inputs stay stable. This is how small advantages become insurmountable leads. The accidental achiever depends on inspiration, motivation, and perfect conditions. The systematic achiever depends on process, structure, and consistent execution. One approach works sometimes, the other approach works systemically. This is how you move from hoping for success to creating success. From depending on luck to depending on logic. From achieving randomly to achieving systematically. From success that might happen to success that must happen. Build systems, not just goals. Create processes, not just plans. Design mechanisms that make success inevitable rather than accidental. The master who engineers success achieves more than the amateur who hopes for success. You already have what it takes. Now, go prove it.